This is an Ellis Mowers and More small engine repair. Stay connected on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers and More. Comments or questions? Leave them below or email me, ellis@ellismowers.com. Parts used in today's repair are found using the links in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe for more small engine content. On today's repair, we have a Toro 1232XL lawn tractor here in the garage. I got on a trade. The old carburetor has just leaked past the needle in the seat and filled up the crankcase with gas. And that's all we've got to do today. I'm going to use some Hipa parts here. Hipa has been a great contributor to the channel over the past couple of years now, and they have some great parts. I've put in a bunch of carb kits and sent them out and never really had an issue with anything, quite honestly. So they've got a wide array of parts. Currently in the month of October 2023, they're doing specials on air filters, getting a free air filter with a code on their website, hypastore.com. Also, if you use my code Ellis Mowers down in the description below, you can get 10% off of your purchase. And I also get a little bit of commission from that too. So, you know, help everybody out, I suppose. But they've got carb kits, oil filters. Check the clearance, guys. You can sometimes get things like oil filters for like $3-4. Depending on what they are selling at the time, if they're doing inventory closeout or something along those lines. Carb kits for almost anything. Briggs singles are a very common carburetor. Then they have those with the kits, with like air filters, fuel filters, almost all the generations of that. So just wanted to highlight that before we get started on this. I will put the link to the carb kit that I used down below, and also all the other links to Hipa's website. Give them a shot. They're very competitive in terms of pricing, and they provide good product support, and I appreciate them being a big contributor to the channel over the past couple of years. I'll give you all a look around this Toro. We'll put this Hipa carb kit on for the Briggs single and change the oil in it and get this thing running nice and smooth again, ready for somebody to have a nice little puller mower around their property. And as for the machine we're working on today, this is something that I almost never get in here. I think it's the first Wheel Horse Toro lawn tractor that I have ever owned. I have an old garden tractor from like 1979 that I'm hopefully working on in the winter. This is a 1232XL. It is missing the mower deck. Reason why you don't see a lot of these around is because the mower deck's usually rusted out on them, and the rest of the machine actually is usually pretty stout. It's just these decks just weren't really built very well in terms of longevity. Everything else is really good on this mower. It almost looks like the guy put new tires on it recently, and it's just a shame I don't have a deck. I have seen one where a guy retrofitted a Murray deck on one of these before, and it actually worked out pretty well. That's not what today's video is about, though. It's about these 12.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. This is a flat head, but they use the same carburetor today as they did back in, or a very similar one, as they did back in 1991 when this was made. This is a 286707 model, 910501. So it was made on May 1st of 1991. The only thing they've changed about the carburetors is just a couple of very small things, but we're going to use a Hipa carb kit on this. And we just need to use the carb because the guy's already recently replaced the air filter, the fuel filter, the fuel lines. So that's actually really nice. I'm just taking the air filter off now. What I'll do is I'll break open that Hipa carb kit you can kind of see where the fuel has been leaking. And the oil smells like gas, is very runny and liquidy, and desperately needs changing. So we're going to do that as well. Alright, we're going to unbox this. Again, this particular kit comes with an air filter like this. We've got an air filter like this. So just be mindful which air filter you are using and match that in accordance to the carb kit that you buy, unless you do a bunch of small engine work and know that you're going to use these type of air filters like me. The carburetors that come with them are basically the same. So we will now open the smaller box here, which will reveal a bunch of things. So again, this is more of a generic carb kit for an overhead valve Briggs, but the carb is what I'm after, and this carb will work just fine. Comes with a spark plug. You have the fuel filter itself. Pretty much everything you need to replace the carb on one of these things. The carb, which is what we're looking after. And we've got gasket, as well as some fuel line. So everything that you need to replace the carburetor and tune up your machine comes in this particular kit. So I'll show you how to put it on next. I'm going to show this process from start to finish on this machine. Again, if you have the newer versions of these that have like the plastic covers and the air filter integrated with the cover, pretty similar, except you have to actually remove the air, the whole top cover instead of just this little part. So it's a little bit more involved, but still the same premise here, especially after you get the little cover off for the air cleaner. So this portion of the fuel line I'm probably going to replace just because it's incredibly hard. But we just have to take the fuel line off just like I did there. There are two 7/16 nuts. That you have to take off after that 5/16 that you saw me take off right there on the top. We're going to get a socket and a ratchet for that. Can't quite get in there with the impact on this machine. But we'll take this off. Again, this is probably the original carburetor that came on it. These Marlboro carburetors are excellent, but you know, you pushing over 30 years, the needle and seat are likely going to start typically start leaking on them. So that's what's happened to this particular machine. That second 7/16 is back there in the back, which is what I'm doing now. Okay. Some of them have a little bracket right here that you've got to take off. This one does not, so we should just be able to slide it off. I pulled the breather tube out, and there's just gas running out of it because the crankcase is completely full of gas. Now, in order to take off this, we need to get a usually 8mm deep well. 5/16 usually works too. Just kind of depends. Fall allergies are getting to me, guys. I'm sorry. Now these overhead valves and the singles have the same premise of taking off the linkages. It's just the difference is all up in here. So it's in front of the carburetor. So there's a gasket, which we'll replace with the one that we got from Hipa. Again, the intake is just full of stuff. And you just tilt the carb up, pull that choke linkage out, and then I'll pull that bolt out as well. And then we will turn this around and just pull the spring and the linkage off of that. And that's all we've got to do there. So what I'm going to do next, while I've got everything off, is just purge all this stuff out of here. By taking the spark plug off. And I'll show this to y'all as well because you'll probably encounter this. You just pull the plug out at the front using a spark plug wrench. Overhead valves are going to be on the front left or front right passenger side, if you want to call it that, of the machine. And see, this is a little bit different plug, so the flatheads take a little shorter plug than the overhead valves. Take a little bit longer plug. We should be able to use that plug still that came on the machine. We're going to crank it and the gas is just going to come flying out here, but y'all get ready. Ooh. That's some crazy stuff, ain't it? Alright, I think we've basically got all the gas out now, which is good. Now, we'll put the new carb on. Now these carbs are basically the same, they're just built slightly different. This one's got an elbow in it, but it will work just fine. The one thing that you have to do with these carburetors to put on the older engines is this little plastic tab right here. You have to take some cutters and cut it completely off. The reason being is it will actually get caught in the air cleaner cover if you don't, on these ones that have the air cleaner like are on this machine. So what we have to do now, we can go ahead and start putting everything back together. I'll grab the gasket. And it comes with fuel line clamps as well. We'll put the new gasket on here. When we put on the carb, marry it up to the machine, so it's going to go like this. The little governor spring is going to go on like so, and then we have the carb. We'll put the gasket in between the carb and the mounting bracket here. And slide it on. Slide it back on. And then we're going to take these 8mm and tighten them up here. Oh, one other thing that we're going to have to do, and I just noticed, because this one doesn't have any sort of anti-backfire solenoid plug up on it, is that we're going to have to take this off. Really easy to do. It's not a deal breaker by any means. Forgot about this. So that exposes an anti-backfire solenoid, and all we've got to do is get some cutters cut it off. Like I said, this does not have an anti-backfire solenoid on it. All I gotta do is, like I said, cut it off. Take some pretty hefty cutters to do that sometimes. We've got it. Don't forget to put your little metal ring back on it. We'll tighten this back up. It's one of the good things about these engine manufacturers is that they didn't really change a lot over the years. So a carb from 1990, a carb for a 1991 machine is fitting here in 2023. Let me put the choke linkage back on as well. We'll tighten up that bowl gasket on the bottom. All right. So let's do this. Whoops. And then you slide into that slot there. Put it on here. Gotta get the threads right here. There we go. We'll just slide these back on. Don't forget, I gotta tighten up that bolt nut at the bottom again. We'll do that here in just a second. Just get them snug. It ain't gotta be, not trying to conquer the world with torque here. Alright, we tighten that back up now. And now we are back in the position to put the air filter housing back on, or the air cleaner. Don't forget to put the little breather tube back on the back side there. I'm going to get these nuts started by hand so we don't cross thread anything. Okay. I'm just going to tighten this back up. And look at this. We're doing this in about, less than about 15 minutes, all said and done. So, if you're looking to do this at home, you can do this with basic hand tools. This ain't no involved job at all. And guys, y'all could literally save hundreds of dollars, especially if you don't really work on this. You can literally save hundreds of dollars by doing this, so you're not taking it to a repair shop. They'd rather have clients that are of more commercial pay up type anyways. Most of these shops don't prefer working on these little 30-year-old machines anymore, let alone almost any residential machine. Let me put this air filter back on. Once I do this, I'm going to do two things off camera. The first is I'm just literally going to put and cut a new fuel line from here to there, because from the gas tank to the fuel filter is just fine. From the fuel filter to the carburetor is really, really hard, although it was holding just fine. I just want to replace that out of precaution. The other thing I'm going to do is change the oil. I'll put the spark plug back in it. after I change the oil. I'm going to double check to make sure that the choke is working like it's supposed to. It will in a second. I'll double check to make sure the choke is working like it's supposed to. I made a boo-boo and I actually forgot to put that choke through the little slot right there. So just make sure you do that. And that'll make the choke work like it's supposed to. And I will rejoin y'all when I'm ready to start this machine up. But that is the premise of putting one of these on. Really not difficult at all. Just make sure that you don't bend linkages or snap anything or things along those lines. But the good news is the choke is not sticking on the air filter cover and will be in good shape. We'll start it up next. Remember, if your machine did leak past the needle and seat like this one did, you need to change the oil. Look at how much liquid that is. It's just straight liquid. Like I said, it hydrolocked the engine and all that stuff too. So we're letting that drain out. One thing of note, if you're particularly interested in these Wheel Horse Toros, this is a 1232. Super small wheels and tires on it. But one other interesting thing is this had provisions for headlights on the hood, but no headlight wiring. So this came from Toro with no headlights. I've never seen that before, so that's kind of interesting. Alright, I've put everything back together. I'm going to start it up, see how well it runs. It should run good if all things considered. It's probably just going to smoke a lot on the exhaust because it's probably loaded up with gas. So just watch for the smoke show, I suppose. Smoky. Woo. That's a lot of stuff to get rid of. Just gotta let it run for a few minutes. And everything should clear up on it. Man, that's all gas smoke because of where that muffler was filled up. So it's got some burning off to do. We'll let it burn off for a few and we'll come back. That's better, isn't it? And I can idle it down a little bit more if I need to. All you have to do there is take a flathead screwdriver and pull this, take this screw and screw it out a little bit. So let me grab a screwdriver, I'll idle it down a little bit just to show you it idles down good. That gives you an idea of the throttle's a little bit messed up on this, so that's kind of why we're having an issue with why it doesn't want to idle down. But that's how you're going to idle it down if you decide you want to do that. Should start back up though, hopefully. might run just a tad better if I do that. So I'll do that as well. Alright, the new plug, got it running a little bit better. Another Hipa carb kit saves another mower. We'll wrap this video up next. So there we go, guys. We fixed this Toro hauler tractor with some Hipa parts, a Hipa carb. A little over 30 years old, 32 years old to be exact. Still running pretty good, all things considered. And that carb is not leaking at the needle in the seat like the other ones, so that's good. Again, Hipa sells a whole bunch of stuff. These are for like your Briggs Classic engines, diaphragm, air filter. They got the Tecumseh Vector stuff in here, which you'll see on the channel. And again, carb kits, oil filters, chainsaw chains, pretty much anything small engine related, they most likely have it. So thanks Hipa for being a great partner. They helped me get this Toro Wheel Horse going, just like you've seen them, or helped me get countless other machines going here on the channel at this point. So give them a try. I'm a loyal customer. They've been good to me, and they'll be good to you. And I appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully y'all learn how to swap one of these things out. It may save you hundreds of bucks. Again, it only took me about 30 minutes at the most, and with some basic hand tools. Y'all take care. Again, give Hipa a try. They are very supportive of small engine enthusiasts like me, and they provide some great products for y'all to help fix your machines in your garage as well. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.